Hey folks, Comic Cowboy, and I'm here today to talk to you about books in the golden age that I would consider blue chip, extremely safe and sure investments in times of uncertainty, in times of turmoil and unease as we find ourselves today. These books represent, if you intend to collect and invest, what I believe to be some of the safest, most fundamentally sound comics that you can buy in the entirety of the golden age spectrum, starting with examples in timely comics in the 1940s, the early 1940s, which is during the war, is the time you want to concentrate on because these are the best, most dramatic covers representing iconic images of the Second World War, illustrated by the finest in the field, which is Alex Schomburg. These particular books and these particular examples are always going to be coveted. They are always going to elicit great emotion and excitement in the eyes and minds of collectors. And if you can obtain them at a good price, there is no wrong time to participate in these books. And I'll talk a little bit about what's going on briefly in the Silver Age with Silver Age keys at this particular moment, but I think it's really important and valuable to think about the kind of books that you can buy at any moment, irrespective of what's happening in financial markets, irrespective of what's happening in the world, if you intend to invest and collect. And maybe right now you don't. But if you're going to be selective, and I encourage you right now to be very selective. I'm being selective. You should be selective in terms of the books that you add to your collection. Right now, you may be targeting 1 or 2 books a month, 1 or 2 books a week. I don't know. Whatever your goals are, I encourage you to be rather selective and curate books for you that make sense for your collection and your interests, but an eye towards titles that will hold their value, because I think it really does behoove you to be a little bit conservative at this moment in time. And you can target and pick up examples of these books and feel that you've made a good investment. I really encourage you to winnow down your choices and sort of lens in on books that are going to be really impactful in your collection right now. So don't think about a lot of books and a lot of inventory. Think about small, secure, safe bets, calculated risks that are going to minimize any potential loss, minimize any potential depreciation of value with your hard-earned dollars committed towards comic books. I think these books present great upside. And starting with the timely books in the early 1940s through about 1945, as you get to 45, 46, we're out of the window of the war. There's still really good books that are post-war produced by Timely, such as the Submariner here. This is issue 18, 7.0, and you could tell already, excuse the glare, as we exit the Second World War, the thematic content in the cover depictions moves away from the war into fighting criminals, and I just don't think the work is as bold, exciting, and coveted by collectors. It's stuff during the Second World War. Superheroes in this line that is absolutely iconic. And now is a time where, even with what's going on in the world, there is nostalgia for America in the Second World War that will always be there. That will always resonate with a really strong, well-funded group of collectors that are going to pursue this material at any moment in time. And you may want to think about adding some to your collection now. given there's a lot of choices and there's a lot of ambiguity around where prices may go. The Marvel Mystery Comics line, produced by Timely through the war and after the war. You know, our friend Alex Schomburg was not the only artist that produced covers during this era, and some of his covers are better than others, but the sort of minimum bar of quality for his covers is so high, it's so stratospheric, that it is fundamentally better and more valuable and more coveted than any other artist that has contributed covers to Marvel Mystery Comics. And I don't think that is my opinion. I think that's really a fact based on, if you just looked objectively at the prices, but really when you see the book in hand, I think a lot of collectors will agree that the quality of Schomburg's offerings is simply a higher bar than peers. His material, which typically has the Submariner here, Namor. It has the precursor to the Human Torch, the original Android version of the Torch, is usually depicted on the cover. And here's a classic Schomburg touch, which is hooded figures. And if you can find bondage, it sort of increases the value and the interest in the book. These are great books. These are fantastic investments in times of trouble. Here is Submariner Comics number 6, Timely, from 1942. The Japanese invade the Panama Canal cover. Phenomenal. So not only does this particular book point to an event, a seminal event in the Second World War, it's depicted in this masterful cover by Alex Schomburg. This is what I would consider absolutely an iconic blue chip safe investment book that can be collected and purchased with such confidence at any moment in time. Now, you may not be buying books right now, and the point of the video I'm making here today is really to say, hey, if you intend to buy books, or if you have a budget for books at this time, and you have a bewildering amount of options, looking at all the auctions and all the sales on eBay, for example, it really makes sense to be specific in terms of what you're looking at, because some prices are moving all over the map right now, okay? These books are scarce, they're desirable, and they hold their value. Even now, these books are going to go for a premium. They are still moving north in price, even with what's happening now. There are just not a lot of copies out there. They're highly desirable, and they represent really the caviar, in my estimate, of the golden age. That's the Submariner line, that's the Marvel Mystery Comics line, and also last but certainly not least are what I would consider maybe the absolute best of the best in terms of the golden age. It is Captain America Comics from also the war in Timely. Here's a Human Torch story, a bondage torture cover with Cap. This is a phenomenal book, and it's got a lot going for it. A lot of times these examples are found in lower grade. Here's a 1.8. It got that grade because the cover is attached. But when you're purchasing this material, you're really looking for, if you're getting lower grade, eye appeal, colors. You want absolutely blue label, unrestored books. I do not buy these books restored. I just think having an unrestored book, if you're going to spend this kind of money, is the way to go. And be careful buying these books raw, because it's really hard to, when you've got the book in hand, to determine if there's perhaps some traces of glue here, and if CGC would actually determine that to be restored, or the level of tape, or any type of subtle color touch. So I buy these books slabbed. You're spending a lot of money on them. I think that's the best way to go. And again, this is just a wonderful cover. It's got so much going on, and indicative of Schomburg's work are these really complex interesting, dramatic compositions, working 20 years before the height of the Silver Age, when we saw Kirby and others doing similar things with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, with the covers that depicted action that seemed to come out at the viewer. Schomburg was doing it early, and it's wonderful. Like, these books are really safe bets to buy. And there's quite a few for you to select from in the line. Here's Captain America Comics 38, also a bondage cover, absolutely a wonderful book and a masterpiece. You really can, I have to say, do no wrong buying these books, and the whole point being, in times of trouble and when markets are thrashing about and the world seems to be upside down, you may not be buying comic books, but if you do, be informed and make very specific, deliberate decisions in terms of what you bring into your collection. And last but not least, I really like Silver Age iconic keys. Here's Amazing Spider-Man 1 from '63 in really nice 5.0 condition with no Marvel chipping along the edges. Really fine example. These books are, I would say, somewhere in the neighborhood of, depending on the copy and the title, in today's market, in today's pricing, somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10% off the 12-month high is where I'm seeing these books sell. I actually think if you've got the stomach for it, and it really will take a little bit of courage to spend this kind of money right now, you can get some really nice prices on the seminal Silver Age keys, whether that's Hulk 181, whether that's Amazing Fantasy 15, Fantastic Four 1, Fantastic Four 5, X-Men 1, all the various X-Men keys, and on and on. Daredevil 1, Tales of Suspense, etc. You can get some really nice prices. Do you think they will go down more than 10%? That's your call. They may go up. Gem 83 may go up. It's such a desirable book. Avengers 1 may travel north in price. I really don't know. Right now, I'm just watching the Silver Age market. I'm spending a lot of my time finding books that I'd like to have out of the wealth of options that are available today and making good, smart decisions. I'm the Comic Cowboy. Go ahead if you'd like to and subscribe to the channel. And thank you for watching, and feel free to leave a comment. Best.